What's going on, everybody? It's your Route 1 encounter. Sleepy Eradicate once again. Have another sleepy episode. Today's episode is number 11. We will be focusing on the Sandshrew evolutionary line, which always feels weird calling it a line when it's only 2 Pokemon, but it's my little guy Sandshrew. I love this little guy. First thing that happened with Sandshrew here in the from memory drawing was that I remembered that he has bricks for skin, but I couldn't remember how many little fingers or toes he had. And then I got over here to Sandslash and I couldn't remember if he had ears or not, because there are a lot of Pokemon like Houndoom we'll get to eventually that are weird to me because they don't have ears occasionally, and like Pikachu's weird antenna, you would almost think to put little ear holes on there, but just a little weird antenna. I love these Pokemon despite not using them very often. I think a lot of people can kind of relate to that probably, because in Gen 1 especially, Sandshrew and Sandslash were very bad, just like not good Pokemon. But Sandshrew is one of the cutest Pokemon in Gen 1. I think it's one of the cutest Pokemon in Pokemon. And Sandslash is one of the cooler Pokemon in general. Sandslash also has kind of like Ladian syndrome, where it's like this super sick, cool design with just no stats to back it up. And so, try as you may, it's tough to make it work. It does have like base 100 attack and like I think 65 speed. So like, it's not like as trash as it used to be, but it's still kind of like not amazing. I think Alolan Sandslash is a little bit better like in game. But either way, yeah, Sandshrew has always been a favorite design visually of mine. I didn't really realize until coming back and looking at it for this video that it has sort of like it has little shoulders, because most Pokemon that have the little like potato arms like Pikachu has, it's just kind of like a little bean shape, and there's no real defined like shoulder or forearm. But Sandshrew does actually have a little defined shoulder, which I thought was interesting. Only 3 fingers on this guy. I think he's been consistently 3 fingers his whole life. 2 toes. Sandshrew, of course, based on a shrew, as well as an armadillo, as well as what's become a little more like well known to people in recent years is pangolin. Pangolins being little, I think, East Asian mammals, and like I think they're in the shrew family. They're like in the armadillo family, with the little scales all over. Sandslash is a little more. Sandslash looks a lot like a pangolin, but it also is a little more like resembling a echidna or a hedgehog. I really see echidna a lot with it because of its long fingernails. And the only reason I don't see pangolin as much is probably just the tail, because pangolins have like massive tails, like relative to the rest of their body. It's like half of their body weight. It's like, or at least when you look at them, I don't know the actual, like, never fucking held a pangolin or anything, but like when you look at it, it looks like half of its body is like balanced by its tail, which I mean is like the function of a tail generally. But yeah, so I always kind of see Sandslash as being more of a echidna, especially because in its shiny color it gets the red quills, so like you get Knuckles vibes from that. You kind of have to. You've been given no choice but to get Knuckles vibes. But funny thing about shrews is that there's like a misconception with hedgehogs, and particularly where shrews and rodents are different animals. And so they share similar features sometimes, but they're not quite the same. They have very different temperament, for one thing. Shrews are a lot less cuddly and friendly. So, which is unfortunate because Sandshrew's so fucking cute. I just like I wish there was like a big, like massive huggable plushie kind of Sandshrew. Right there at the end, I shifted the colors a little bit more desaturated because I had done them like based off the sprite color, and then it felt a little too bright, so I desaturated it down a little bit. Sandshrew in their Pokedex entries and stuff are described as they live in the desert. They bury underground to sleep at night. And during the day, they sit at the edge of their little den and wait for prey to come by, and then they jump out and grab it and pull it down to eat it. I would imagine they're like competing with Trapinch for territory. Kind of a similar hunting method, I guess. But they also, it says that if they were to fall from great heights, they could roll up into a ball and bounce. So because their shells are like super hard, I guess. They are made out of, they look like they're made out of bricks. They're so funny looking. Which I guess made their Alolan versions kind of like a natural fit, the whole brick motif. But Sandslash had kind of a funny backstory too with that, because Sandslash, most of the Pokedex entries just talk about how they slash things with their big claws. If their claws or their spikes break off, it's not a huge deal because they grow back in a day. And they also occasionally shed all of their spikes, and new ones come in underneath, and they just kind of fall off, I guess. The Sun and Moon Pokedex entries get a little more detailed. They say that the people will pick up the fallen claws and scales and use them to make like gardening equipment out of, which is kind of funny, like to plow fields and stuff with their spikes. And then the other thing is that it says that they like to, I think it was them. It was either them or no, it was them. They climb up into trees and then they just like dive bomb people like in spike ball form. And I'm like, is this our fucking drop bear Pokemon? Did they do it? Did they make a drop bear and just not tell us? But that's a feature that Sandshrew and Sandslash both share, is they kind of roll up in Sonic the Hedgehog at people. Further playing into the Shrew Hedgehog kind of deal. But yeah, I think, like I said, Sandshrew is one of the cutest Pokemon. It's just this little round teddy bear, fat little chunky guy. Sandslash, again, always thought he was super cool, but never really used him. He's kind of weird to me. He's one of those Pokemon that loses a finger when he evolves, which is kind of bizarre, but I don't know. He's one of those Pokemon that always, like, his body shape has been kind of odd to me. Something about it's just weird. Especially when I drew the from memory drawing, I drew him as having like his arms just being one big segment, but he actually has like a little tiny bicep and then like this big honking meaty claw on the end there, a big meaty claw. And they sort of have a Raichu foot kind of thing going on, where they can either it looks like they can either kind of squat down like Pikachu, or they can stand up a little more, which is kind of why I drew him the way I did, because I was worried that my drawing of this was too similar to his default art, but he's one of those Pokemon that, because of his weird body shape, it was kind of hard thinking of a pose that would be like more dynamic but also show off his entire body. Because like with Sandshrew and the pose I did for him, all I'm really covering is his belly, but you can assume from seeing the side of his belly and seeing a little white patch, you can assume what the rest of it looks like. With Sandslash, it's like if you were to put him in that same pose, it would the spikes would cover his entire body. I even got to that point where I was like, am I going to be able to fit his tail in the back of this without it looking weird? It ended up fine, but his tail is a lot stiffer than I realized, because I don't know. I don't know what I thought his tail was like. I feel like I thought it was longer. I feel like I thought it was either longer or like way, way shorter. But it almost looks like another spike, honestly. It's the same kind of shape as the rest of his quills. His quills did give me a little bit of trouble too, because if you saw when I was doing the preliminary, the sketch of it, I didn't sketch out the shape of his body underneath the quills. I just kind of went for it, and normally that doesn't work out super well for me. Whenever I try to draw characters with spiky hair or something, I still try to draw their head underneath the spiky hair. But for this, I was just yeah, I'll just go for it. And it came out looking all right, but it's a problem with trying to create a radial kind of shape without any kind of guide. Yeah, in the end, I think they came out pretty good. I think Sandshrew came out better than Sandslash, but I mean, I'm fine with that just because like I would have been heartbroken if my little Sandshrew wasn't as cute. But he's ready to pounce. Looks like he's playing with like a ball of yarn or something. I made him kind of cat-like. But yeah, those are that's Sandshrew and Sandslash. Really cool Pokemon that maybe I'll give it another shot. Now seeing how its stats are now, maybe I'll give it another shot using it in Sword and Shield. Oh, I just remembered too that one of the weird things I read about Sandshrew was that they're like they avoid water, which is why that one from the anime was so. I forgot to talk about the one from the anime. There was I forget the trainer's name, but there was that guy who had he had like a little circus tent out in the woods, and he trained a bunch of Pokemon, and he had a Sandshrew that could swim, and it was like the craziest thing ever. It almost makes me wish that they learned like Waterfall or something. That would be really cool. But it says that they collect like dew on their skin because their skin is so dry. They like absorb dew overnight, and their bodies are kind of like built to use water efficiently, kind of like a camel, I guess. And when I think it was the Sun and Moon Dex entry says that like when they get all like wrinkly from the moisture, they go to volcanoes and they just chill there to like dry out next to the volcano. I'm like, that's fucking weird. I want to see a wrinkly a wrinkly Sandshrew. I wish that one from the anime had gotten all like pruny when he went swimming in the pool. But I think that's going to be it for these guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.